SBR Videos is sponsored by Sports Cash System. Click on the link below for more information. Hi, welcome to SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are covering the College Bowls right now, and we're talking with Steve from CollegeFootballWinning.com, who requested the Sugar Bowl. Oklahoma, Alabama is, one of the bowls that Steve requested, and Steve is not a guy who's, requesting the high-profile bowls just for the hell of it. If he requests a bowl, it's because he sees some sort of edge for some reason. So I'm very interested to hear what he has to say about it. Steve, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Peter.
All right, before we hear what your opinions are on the Sugar Bowl, give a quick plug for CollegeFootballWinning.com.
I'd be happy to. At CollegeFootballWinning.com, all we do is college football. This season, our formula, which is our algorithmic betting recommendations, and we're a company founded on making betting recommendations algorithmically, it finished the regular season 67.59% against the spread. For bowl season, our lifetime average is 67.8% against the spread. So far, through the 5 bowls, as we're recording this, we've had 5 bowls. We are 4-1, so we're 80% against the spread so far. Last year, we covered all 35 bowls, just like we're going to do this year at our site, and we were 67.22%, really close to our lifetime average. If people want to join us watching this video, and I hope they do, they just put in SBR10, that's a coupon code, put in SBR10, you'll get 10% off of any membership that we're offering at CollegeFootballWinning.com.
Okay, that's great. We're shooting this right after the East Carolina Bowl. Did you have East Carolina?
Yes, we did.
Very impressive. All right. Well, you chose the Sugar Bowl, Oklahoma, Alabama, and I'm assuming you chose this because you see a significant edge that you think is worth discussing with us. Is that correct? And tell us what that edge is.
I'm not going to say significant edge because we are too far out for me to be too bold about any prediction, especially in a high-profile game like this. But as I said, we are pretty far removed from the game. But as we're looking at it right now, here's how we see this game. Motivationally, Oklahoma has the edge in this one because they get a crack at what some people believe is still the #1 team in America, Alabama. Of course, very disappointing finish for Alabama. They thought they'd be playing for a record 3rd straight BCS national title. They're not. They have to face Oklahoma, who sort of backed into a BCS bowl. So a little disappointing for Alabama, but definitely energizing for Oklahoma. Oklahoma has 2 straight-up losses this season. They lost to Baylor and Texas, and they were not very close. But something those 2 opponents have in common is their up-tempo offense. Texas ran 82 plays against Oklahoma. Baylor ran 80. Alabama averages around 63 offensive plays per game. So you're definitely not looking at up-tempo with Alabama. The other thing those 2 losses had in common, they did not have Trevor Knight starting as quarterback for Oklahoma. That's significant. Alabama is 3-5 against the spread over the past 4 seasons when they allow at least 150 rushing yards. Well, only Baylor and Texas held Oklahoma under 150 rushing yards this season, and Oklahoma had the fewest rushing attempts of the season in both of those games. And once again, in part, that could be because they didn't have Trevor Knight starting at quarterback. Alabama, for people who follow Alabama, they have struggled with mobile quarterbacks. Johnny Manziel, Texas A&M, he had 92 rushing yards last year, 98 rushing yards this year. They were both against the spread losses for Alabama. Nick Marshall this year, Alabama's last game of Auburn, had 99 rushing yards against Alabama, and once again, a straight-up and against the spread loss for Alabama. Now, Alabama's quarterback, Trevor Knight, if he is the starter, that's a big if, the guy averages over 7 yards per carry, 7.06 yards per carry. If Blake Bell is named as the starter, he is not as mobile, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's look at this Auburn game for Alabama. Auburn's total defense ranks 99th. Okay, and the best defense, this is surprising because we're talking about the SEC here. The best defense in the SEC that Alabama faced was not even in the top 25 nationally. That was LSU. The best total defense that Alabama has faced, the only one in the top 25 so far this year, was Virginia Tech. And Virginia Tech, don't be fooled by that final score. It was 35-10. Virginia Tech outgained Alabama. If it weren't for the fact that Virginia Tech gave up a punt return and a kickoff return, both for touchdowns. As I said, Alabama was outgained, so they were held by a good defense. Oklahoma's defense, total defense, ranks 12th in the country. So there you go. This will only be the second time that Alabama this season faces a top 25 total defense. Now, looking at the betting line, this is pretty important here. Big Game Bob, as they call Bob Stoops, he's just 3-7 against the spread the last 10 years in bowl games. That's not very good. Oklahoma, under Bob Stoops, is just 19-21 against the spread when given at least 12 days to prepare for a game. Again, not so good. But Oklahoma was 2-1 against the spread as an underdog this season, and of course they're a pretty heavy underdog in this game. Now, Nick Saban, 5-1 against the spread in bowl games since he's been at Alabama. Alabama, under Nick Saban, ridiculous, 15-5 against the spread when they're given at least 12 days to prepare for a game. But here's a big one, Peter. Under Nick Saban at Alabama, they are just 3-10 against the spread after a straight-up loss. The only time Alabama played in a bowl game, this is referring to betting percentage right now. Right now, by far, there is a prohibitive majority on Alabama as far as betting percentage. We're way away from the game right now, more than a week out, but Alabama's getting at least 75% of the betting action right now. The only time Alabama played in a bowl game under Nick Saban where they got at least 70% of the betting action, that was the 2009 Sugar Bowl, and Alabama lost by 2 touchdowns, so not even close to covering the spread there. Now, OU, so Oklahoma, the last 11 years, when they are getting under 40% of the public betting, like they're way under right now, it's more like 25%, they're 8-4 against the spread. As this is being written, as I'm talking about this, Alabama is getting, like we said, more than 75%. And there's something more. In bowl seasons, the last 11 bowl seasons, teams getting, so just any team, getting at least 70% of the betting action, they've beaten the spread just 39.62% of the time, and exactly no time so far in this young bowl season. What is even more than that? Since this line opened, technically at Alabama minus 16.5, and Alabama's been getting this huge majority of the betting action, the line went down to Alabama minus 15. So right now, we're looking at reverse line movement in a high-profile bowl game. Over the past 11 bowl seasons, the side benefiting from that reverse line movement, in this case Oklahoma, has beaten the spread at a rate of 58.82%. So right now, a lot of indicators are suggesting that Oklahoma looks to be the right side. However, there are some important things that we're going to be monitoring between now and kickoff, and one of those is Alabama's pretty much missing the starting left side of their offensive line. That's huge. If they have another injury to that offensive line, then sort of all bets are off here. If the odds makers let this line run wild, so they say Alabama's getting all this betting action, more than 75%, and they just let this line go, minus 18, minus 19, then we're thinking Alabama is looking more and more like the right side. But if they keep holding this line back the way that they have, then it's really looking like odds makers think that Oklahoma is the right side. And essentially, our lean right now is to Oklahoma getting, there are even some places where you can get them at 16 points as we're recording this.
All right. Well, you made a very, very compelling case. That's the kind of thorough research that results in the great record that you have long-term at your site. Really appreciate it, Steve from CollegeFootballWinning.com, giving an early lean on Oklahoma plus 15. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Peter. Happy New Year to you too.